All right. Well, hey, welcome to Taking Up Your Time with Bobby Benavides. Yep, I'm here in right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing me in like a little classroom area. This is actually so for those of you who don't realize or don't know me very well, I'm a pastor as well. So I have church going on in this room, but I'm recording this podcast before kind of get crazy and moving around. So um, I know priorities, right? But hey, I have my sermon written. I'm ready to go. But I'm also about to go on vacation for a couple weeks. So I'm going to be pre-recording, although all my episodes are pre-recorded. Um, but yeah, I'm pre-recording this episode. I'm recording this episode. I'm going to record another episode, kind of back to back, because they're not going to be very long. But it's just more of a conversation wise, just something simple for you guys to listen to before you go listen to a really good podcast that you listen to as well. So, because this is the one that kind of uses a filler, like, hey, you know what? I got to go ahead and like drive from here to like my office, 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and jump on this one. But I'll settle, right? You're slumming it. It's okay. I get it. Um, no, but today I want to talk a little bit about support, right? Support. It's really interesting, right? Because when I first started comedy, you've heard kind of the journey that I've been on in regards to my friend offering me the idea of doing 10 minutes, then jumping right into an hour. So then just kind of figuring out like, okay, what's next, right? How do I do this? How do I actually get myself out there? What do I do? So I start kind of, sharing that I'm doing comedy with friends. Um, the funny thing about it is, and this is not a slight. So if you're listening to this going like, oh man, like Bobby's talking about me, like, well, I mean, like I'm not talking about anybody in particular, okay? Because there's a lot of people. I have a lot of people who are hardcore, like Bobby, like I want to help you, make this happen. I want to I want to see you succeed in comedy. Um, but then there's the people who say like, Bobby, I want to see you succeed in comedy, but then like they're not really stepping into it, right? They're not like, but it goes across the board. This is not a complaint. This is not anybody. This is not whining, right? So hear me out. What this is just me saying like, for no name comics like myself, right? There's a lot of comics out here who are just trying to make it, trying to figure out how to make it. I actually just had a conversation with somebody um, the other day because I did an open mic, which we'll be talking about in the next episode. Um, but I did an open mic, and he's like, "Hey, Bob," he's like, "Listen," he's like, "if you need some artwork done for things like that, like for some merchandise, like let me know." He's like, "I'm your guy." He's like, "I'll do it." I was like, "Oh, dude, you're awesome, right?" And so we were talking about because he does some great work, and I'm going to be pushing him uh, on my social media, but I need to figure out like what's allowed because some of his stuff, like I want to make sure his stuff is like he does great artwork, amazing artwork, and he sells these pins for his name. Well, I'll just say his name. His name's Jack Rife, right? He's funny guy. But he sells these pins with great artwork for people who go to like concerts and things. It's really cool. Anyway, all that to say is that he's like, because what I realize is that there's only so many comedians out there who are making a lot of money as a comedian, right? I mean, that's just the truth. There are only so many comics out there who are making like millions of dollars as comics because they're funny or because they're getting their specials on like Netflix and all that stuff. Then, of course, there's the comics who are like me, who are like, "Hey, I'm gonna go and make my own special that you can find on YouTube. It's free. I'm not getting pay for it. I'm not getting paid for it because YouTube has standards of, well, if you don't have enough followers or you have enough views, then you're not gonna get it." And so he's like, "You got to sell your merch." So why am I talking about that? Because the reality of it is like that's exactly what it is. Is that in order for someone like myself to make a career out of comedy, which I love being a pastor and I want to be a pastor for a long time, uh, but I love doing comedy and I want to be a comedian for a long time. I have to be able to figure out how to market myself, but I'm also I'm not very good at marketing myself. But that's going to be another episode along the way too, because I just can't do it. Well, I mean, I can. I'm just not good at it. I feel weird self-promoting, although I'm always doing it because I know that that's what I have to do. I was listening to Bert Kreischer, which most of you guys know familiar with Bert Kreischer. His movie The Machine just came out. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be hilarious. The dude is funny. He has his many Netflix specials. He has his other things that he's done. He's just a funny guy. Um, But he talked about the idea of how he became big was because he kept pushing himself. He had to push himself. He had to like share everything about himself, and people were like, "Man, you're so like self-promoting." He's like, "Yeah, but in this day and age, is what you have to do." But when I'm doing it and when my friends are doing it, like I try to share my friends' comedy stuff because the thing is, like, I want to see them succeed too. I'm not just in this for myself. Like I mean, I'm in it for myself because I want to be funny and I want to be like known, but I want to see other comics who are funny make it too. That's why I'll talk about who they are. I'm not may not even ever have them on my podcast, but I'm gonna mention their names and say point in their direction because I think they're funny. I think they're worth seeing. I also feel like we should be promoting each other. Just because one person makes it bigger than me doesn't mean that I'm not succeeding. In fact, them making it big is kind of a success for me because it's like, hey, you know what? You came up from the same spot that I came up from. Um, but when I have like friends, family, whatever, that either you can see them like sharing or promoting other things, but not sharing, promoting me, it hurts. Um, but it's one of those things where it's like I got to grow with that, right? It's one of those things where it's like, okay, look, I'm not whining, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing at the thing is that I know that people who truly support you are going to support you, and they're going to show up through buying merchandise, which I've had people do, which I appreciate that. They're going to show up by just coming to your shows. They're going to point people to your shows. They're going to be making sure that they are showing their support by doing the things that it doesn't even have to be financials, like just sharing, right? If you share somebody's work, it doesn't have to be mine. If you see somebody who's doing something and you support them, then you share what they're doing because you want people to know what they're doing. You want them, like, even if it's not your cup of tea, you still want to see them succeed. So then you share it, right? Like, I don't buy pins for concerts because I don't go to concerts. But if I do go, but if I'm going to be have a friend who's selling pins for concerts, I'm going to share it. I don't go to professional wrestling shows as often as I would love to. But at the same time, I know friends of mine, my friend Tim, who's an amazing dude. He has his Real Shoot Wrestling, RSW Wrestling, right? Or RSW, his wrestling group, wrestling organization. And I believe in it. And so I will share his stuff. Even if I'm not going, I'm still going to share it. Why? Because I believe in what he's doing. There's wrestling organizations locally that I want to promote and share. Like I know, went off the tangent. This is about comedy. I'm talking about wrestling. No, I'm talking about just promoting and sharing. Right. The value of sharing people in their small beginnings will lead to everyone's success at the end. Right. Because if I'm not going to forget that. Right. And I'm not going to, like, I'll always remember those who stepped in and lifted me up. The people who are not, I'll remember that. Um, and I don't say that like in a threatening way, like I'll remember that. I just mean like it's just something that's like, okay, cool. Like I get it. Like you're supportive to me, but publicly not necessarily. And that's okay. If that's how it's gonna be, that's how it's gonna be. I'm okay with that. It hurts, but I'm okay with it because that just means that I have to push harder. I have to push harder. My drive has to be bigger. That's why you will see me promoting my stuff, even if it's not like, even like if I don't believe in myself, then why should I count on anybody else to believe in me, right? I have to believe in my stuff too. So I got to push myself. I got to promote myself. I got to share what I do. It's all about being uh, supportive. Someone who stands with other people will support them. So I will push other people's things. My friend Dan Desmond, he's a local comedian. I'm hoping to have him on the podcast somewhere down the line. He's great, man. And he's great at sharing my stuff, and he's great, and I'm great at sharing his. I'm decent at sharing his stuff. I try. But like, he has his open mics, and which I just went to. He's come to my open mics. Uh, he's always talking about other people's comedy shows, whether he's going to be there or not. He'll go to local comedy shows, like whether he can, if he's on it or not. Um, you know, my thing is like, man, I wish I had the ability to do that sometimes. But I got 4 kids, and my wife and I are like, right in a stage of life where it's like I just can't get up and go to every comedy show I want to go to, and she can't either. We go to when we can. But anyway, I digress. Um, we got to find ways, right? Because in people in small beginnings, we need all the support that we can get. So if you think we're funny, I'm not saying just me. If you have a friend of yours who's another comic and you think they're funny, share them, promote them. If you're a comic and you're afraid to promote another comic, get over yourself. like we need each other, man. We need to be pushing each other. We need to be supporting each other. Because again, like there's people who I love to get on my shows, and I mean, if if I know that they can work clean, I'm gonna get them on my shows. On the shows that I'm actually doing. But if there's a good open mic, or if another show I got invited to, I'll say, hey, you got to talk to this person. Whether they have to work clean or not, it's up to you. But for me, like I'm like, let's get them on. Because it's you remember who they are, right? You know who's been with you along the way. You support everybody as much as you can. I'm, Nate Bargatze right now is known as the nicest guy in comedy, and honestly, I kind of want to be that. I don't want to be the funniest guy in comedy. I mean, it'd be great to be the funniest guy in comedy, but I'm not going to be. Um, but I wouldn't mind being known as the nicest guy in comedy, and I wouldn't mind competing against Nate for that purpose. You know what I mean? He could be funny. He can make millions. That's fine. Great job, Nate. I love you, man. You're awesome. I don't know you, but I love you, and I hope one day you and I can meet, and maybe one day I'll be able to actually like open for you. I don't like that's my dream, right? Before he retires, and I'll be able to open for Nate Bargatze. I don't know why. It's just something. Well, I know why. I just want to be. I just want the guy's just. He's amazing. Anyway, but I want to compete to be the nicest guy in comedy, and the nicest guy in comedy is someone who's going to be promoting their friends, bringing their friends along for the ride. Just really a joy to work with on stage, whether they're behind the scenes or on the stage. They're great to people. And in person, like I just want to be known as a good guy, right? And that's my goal. Like, and that's not. I think that's an okay thing to be pushing for. And part of that is supporting people who I don't know, supporting people I do know, supporting people in their journey to be successful, whether it's comedy, music, writing, baking, starting their own businesses, right? Like I want to be someone who's supporting other people because we need to be lifting each other up. And so if you're not supporting someone, well, they looked at me funny in the 5th grade. Like, come on. If you're not supporting someone because they're a jerk, I get that. But if you're just not supporting someone just because, well, it's like, well, they're not funny to me. Well, if they're not funny to you, that's fine. But they might be funny to somebody else. I might be funny to somebody else. So if you want to support the journey, then just share it. No harm, no foul. And if you find somebody say like, "Oh man, I don't think they're that funny," say, "Yeah, neither did I." But they're a friend of mine, and I just want to encourage them, and so I'm sharing it. There might be somebody out there who might find them funny because I'm not gonna make everybody laugh, and I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna be the one like Bert Kreischer just talked about on his podcast. He's like, he has people in their comments like, "Oh man, this guy again." Like, and he's like, "Man, like, okay." He's like, "I read all the hate." I mean, I read all the comments whenever there are comments. I don't get very many because I'm still, like I said, I'm not known yet. But when I do start getting comments, I'll read them and I'll just filter them out. That's what you do. Anyway, that's all about support. So again, if you support this podcast, share it. If you like what you're hearing, share it. The journey of comedy is hard, but without people supporting and sharing, it makes it even harder, especially in this day and age. Oh, that was what I wanted to cover. Before I end this, I was about to end this. Holy cow. And I forgot this very big point. I talked about this, I think, in the first episode, or the intro episode, which is also the first episode. The fact of the matter is like there are clubs out there that will not even consider booking you. as a comic to do like beyond like an open mic, right? They won't even consider booking you as a feature, as a headliner. They won't even consider if you don't have the follows on social media. You could be super funny. I could be like so hilarious all the time, and I could be nailing it on the mic, right? Like I did an open mic, and I just had like everybody laughing, and I felt so good because I was like, man, my set felt solid. And it was a couple minutes. I felt like it was forever, but it was just a couple minutes. And when I got through with that, I felt like I had everybody laughing, and I even had some compliments from people. It felt great. But the reality of it is, if I didn't record that set, which was stupid of me, but um, the reality of it is that even if I recorded it and I sent it to a club and it had all the laughs, if they went to my social media and they saw that I only had 245 followers or whatever, however many I have, they'd be like, "Who is this guy?" They see my TikTok with only 200 and something people. Who is this guy? YouTube. YouTube's like you can't even monetize until you have like 1,000 views or something like that on like a video, or I don't remember. I don't know the rules, but basically it's like, who are you? We need to see that you have people who will support you, who will actually see that you have some value, that see that you are worthy of having you on the stage, because they don't want to take the risk. You might be super funny in that section, right? In that video, you might have had everybody laughing, but how do we know that you have a lot of people who think that you're funny? Well, they go to your social media, and if social media doesn't have it, there you go. And again, I'm not good at marketing myself and promoting myself, so I probably could be doing more. I could be like putting reels out all the time, but I don't, because I don't have time to be making a bunch of stuff all the time. But if I had people sharing the little bits that I have out there, who knows what could happen, right? That's a part of it. It's like you have that idea of promoting and sharing and supporting. It helps build the career. It helps build people's momentum. We talk about, I talked about how those people left my comedy show going like, well, you weren't on Netflix. You must not be that funny. Well, the thing is, I could probably be on Netflix. Nah, just kidding. I don't know. I could probably be at the Pittsburgh Improv. I could probably be somewhere like that if I had people talking about me, or the people who say they support me supported me. I have friends of mine who I think could be on big stages, but they're not getting the support locally that they should be getting. They don't have the people behind them saying, "Yeah, we got you. We're going to get you big because you deserve to be big. We're going to get your name known because your name should be known." You know, I just got booked for our comedy tour that's coming up in the fall. REV TMac and I are going to be on comedy tour. We'll be meeting REV TMac somewhere down the line here soon. Because a friend of mine in Ohio believes in me, and he told a guy at the theater, said, "I believe Bobby should be on your stage." And so the guy at the theater gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, so this guy supports you, said that you're funny, and he said that you'd be a good show. What does it look like?" And so I told him. He's like, "All right, let's book it." So October 27th, we're at the Twin City Opera House Theater in McConnelsville, Ohio, and it seats 550 people. I'm like blown away by this. Now, I would love for it to sell out. But dude, I'd be crazy if it even went half, right? I'd go nuts. Cause that's a massive deal, right? I'd love to see it. So if you're in the area, jump on it. The ticket link there's gonna be ticket links to our tour in the podcast show notes, going forward. But cause I have a couple shows that have ticket links. But there's supporters, right? And that's what we need, the supporters. And so anyway, all that to say, find the people that you want to support and do it. Don't just tell them, "Oh yeah, we believe in you," but then don't do anything on social media for it. Don't buy merch. Don't talk about them to other people, like because all that is just telling them, "Oh, we support you," but then there's nothing to show for it. Because when you do the other things, that's where you're putting the rubber to the road, right? You're making it go. And so I challenge you with that. I encourage you with that. And I'm not saying just support me, okay? Although I want you to find the people who need support them. Somebody starts a small business, support them. If you know somebody who's an author, support them. Comedian, support them. Actor, trying to make it, support them. You know, because we're in this together. All right. Well, that's again. I hope you listen to all this because again, I'm taking up your time talking about support. So with that, I will go back to if you like this podcast, share it, support it, put it out there into the internets to help them understand what's going on. And again, if you watch my comedy special, share that. If you have bought merch, thank you. If you haven't, it's in the link in the show notes. If you want to check out some stuff, I have some fun socks with my face on them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that I can say, yeah, you know what? I have fans. That's fun. But anyway, besides my grandma and my wife and my in-laws, I think. All right, that's it. It's taking every time. Bobby Benavides. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.